How's it going, guys? It's Al. We're going to talk about what happened in Week 5, the Week 5 recap on DraftKings right here on YouTube. Thank you guys for joining me. I know that we don't get as many views on this video as we get on all the ones that have actionable information moving forward, but for me, this is kind of a therapeutic response to the weekend. It's also a bit of transparency so that you guys can see what I did last week, where I was right, where I was wrong in my analysis, where I think I got lucky, where I got unlucky, and what we can do better with our process moving forward to make better decisions. I wish we actually did have more viewers on this video, just for the sake that I think people need to look at their process and examine things rather than just, okay, give me the picks for the next slate. Let's go. Okay, I lost last week. That sucked. And this guy was terrible. I don't think people are being honest with themselves or with the content that they read or watch or listen to about exactly why. Because, understanding daily fantasy and understanding yourself and your process and what you can do in daily fantasy is very much about understanding the why of the things that happen to you and everything else. So thank you for being here and being fans of this channel. If you would, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell before you leave. I would greatly appreciate it. And let's just get to the stuff. We always start with my Best Buys column right here on ESPN. It's an ESPN Plus piece. If you don't subscribe to ESPN Plus, you probably don't get it. I know that there's a free trial. You should probably take advantage of it. Cover boy was Antonio Brown. He actually did extremely well, as was expected, as he pretty much does all the time. Our first player at quarterback was Ben Roethlisberger. Ended the day at 22.6, 19 of 29, 250 yards, 3 TDs against Atlanta, a team that we're going to be picking on pretty much every single week moving forward. We've picked on him each of the first 5 weeks. I don't see why we're going to stop now. Did just fine. Aaron Rodgers was underpriced at 6,300. Reminds me, retrospectively, looking back at this slate, he reminds me very much of Deshaun Watson from the week prior, where I said Deshaun Watson is too cheap at 6,300, and I usually like to pay down a little bit at quarterback. And I probably should have reached up to Aaron Rodgers, and there was a way for me to do that. We'll talk about that when we get to my cash game breakdown. Ended the day with 33.68 points after a terrible first half, 442 yards and 3 touchdowns. Blake Bortles, a lot of people ran off of him because of rain. We talked about on the Anti-Tinkercast, which is the show that I do on Twitch every Sunday morning, the last 45 minutes before lock. If you're watching this on YouTube, go over to Twitch, subscribe to the channel there, and be there for those because the chat is always locked to subs only for these NFL shows. You can be a part of it. Ask me questions right up until lineups lock. Anything that you want to ask. 28.6 DraftKings points, 1 touchdown and through the air, 1 on the ground, 430 yards against Kansas City, another team that we've been streaming quarterbacks against, and we will continue to as the year goes on. Cam Newton, only 18.38 fantasy points, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes had his worst day as a professional quarterback and still scored 20.8 DraftKings points. He was only 6,200. He outperformed most of the other quarterbacks on the slate at or around his price point, and that was against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I never play players against, but I was going to make the exception with Patrick Mahomes. Christian McCaffrey, my highest percentage-owned player in the Millie Maker this week, had 20.3 DraftKings points after a very disappointing first half where he did not even have 1 target. Ended the day with 17 of 58 on the ground, 5 of 6 targets were caught, 35 yards, and turned 1 of those catches into a touchdown. Cam Newton, when you throw him the ball, good things happen to your team. You should do that more. David Johnson finally had a bounce-back week here, but most of it came through touchdowns, and this is something that we're going to have to continue to evaluate. He did get 20 touches. 18 of them came on the ground for only 55 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2 catches on 3 targets. That's just not enough. I don't like that at all. 16 yards through the air. If you take away those 2 touchdowns, he has single-digit fantasy points. I don't even know that we can play David Johnson at the price that he's at because he's too touchdown dependent because he's not getting the volume, and this Arizona team is just god-awful. Even against the San Francisco 49ers, who give up points in bunches to running backs, they couldn't take advantage of him. Kerryon Johnson is somebody that still needs to get more carries. I tweeted out earlier yesterday when LeGarrette Blount had 2 touchdown rushes from the 1-yard line, and he was averaging like 1 yard per carry, and Kerryon Johnson was averaging like 7 yards per carry, and he 12 carries for 70 yards. Why are you not giving somebody the ball more who's averaging over 5 yards a carry? He's averaging over 6 yards a carry. 2 catches on 2 targets. Only 14 touches for the kid, 10.5 DraftKings points. Obviously, LeGarrette Blount took all the short yardage stuff. I think Kerryon Johnson, for me, only is a tournament-only player, and that's what I said. It's a risky play, but one worth taking in tournaments. So That's how I'm treating him. That's how I treated him last week. That's how I will be treating him moving forward until his role changes and he starts getting 18 plus touches a game. I don't think we can consider him for cash pretty much at all. The smash of the week, James Conner, 21 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 catches, 4 targets, 75 yards through the air, 37.5 fantasy points on DraftKings. Melvin Gordon, 19 carries, 58 yards and a touchdown, 4 catches on 4 targets for 62 yards, no touchdowns, 22 DraftKings points. The running backs pretty much did great for us. Wide receiver, this is where the problem came in for me. Antonio Brown did great. 31.1 points on a tremendous touchdown catch. Only caught 6 of 13 targets. That touchdown catch was a thing of beauty. 101 yards, 2 TDs. Doug Baldwin, here was the big problem. And this is where we got to really start. The Seattle Seahawks just don't throw the ball a ton. Doug Baldwin led him in targets in week 4 on his first game back from injury. He played 85% of snaps yesterday, caught 1 ball for 1 yard. I'm running as fast as I can from this Seattle Seahawks team. I am also running as fast as I can from this Tennessee Titans offense. I don't know that we can trust either of these teams with anything. If you look at the Seattle running backs for the last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, Mike Davis gets 20 plus touches. This week he gets 10. This week Chris Carson gets 20 plus touches. Who knows what's going to happen next week? And Rashard Penny, who they spent a first round pick on, is just relegated to the doghouse. I don't know that either of these teams really know what they're doing with their players. And so therefore I can't trust them being anywhere near my cash game lineups moving forward until we see some sort of change. I thought I had seen that change in Tywan Taylor with his snaps, his targets, and his catches all increasing from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 to week 4. In week 5, he played less snaps than he had played. He played under 50% of the snaps, yet still came in second on the team in terms of targets and he was the only player on the team to have any red zone looks with 2 of them for Tennessee. I think this is a Mariota issue. I think Mariota's good, but I think Mariota's injured. I don't know that he can deliver the ball the way that he could. Some value popped up that we talked about on the Anti-Tinkercast with MVS, Valdez Scantling, who turned out to be the smash play at 4,300. We'll go over that in just a minute. Adam Thielen did Adam Thielen things that we expected from him. 7 catches on 10 targets, 116 yards and a touchdown. AJ Green was a point of contention for many people. We'll talk about this as well. We might as well do it now. 6 catches, 10 targets, 112 yards, 20.2 DraftKings points. But Al, the Miami Dolphins have a cornerback who's going to shadow him. I don't care. There are very few, and look, I'm somebody who believes in wide receiver cornerback matchups. Right? I do. I use them in my weekly analysis. I read Mike Clay's article, which is also an ESPN Plus piece, every single week and comes with a very handy cheat sheet. You should go check it out. Go download the cheat sheet. It tells you which guys go into the slot, which guys play left or right, which guys are plus matchups, which guys are negative matchups. But it doesn't always matter with every wide receiver. There are certain wide receivers that are matchup proof. There are certain cornerbacks who get a lot of play for being, this guy is a very good cornerback. So like Darius Slay, right? Darius Slay is a very good cornerback. If you faded Devontae Adams this week with 2 of the top target getters on Green Bay being out on Sunday morning, being inactive, announced inactive on Sunday morning, but you faded Devontae Adams because, you know what, I'm not playing Devontae Adams because Darius Slay is going to guard him. You missed out on 30 plus fantasy points. So don't do that, right? There are very few cornerbacks that can take out any wide receiver in the league. And I mean like Jalen Ramsey, right? If he's on that wide receiver, I'm probably not playing that guy. I don't care which wide receiver it is. He can be a big minus to every wide receiver. But there are certain wide receivers that even with a good cornerback on them are going to still get their supply and maybe be a little less efficient, but not all that much. So I think that wide receiver cornerback matchups in terms of certain wide receivers are overplayed. Now it's up to you to figure out which ones those are. I will help talk you through that on other shows as we move forward. But realistically speaking, wide receiver cornerback matchups most certainly matter, but a lot of people overweight them and overvalue them in the wrong way. And AJ Green this week was one of those. Marvin Jones Jr. dropped a short touchdown pass, caught another touchdown pass this week, 1 catch on 4 targets, 8 yards and a touchdown. Should have caught that 1 touchdown on a free play. Ended up dropping it in the end zone. Unfortunate. Would have definitely paid off his value with that 1 catch, but didn't quite get there. I'm going to say we were unlucky there, but at the same time, the volume wasn't there either with only 4 targets. So We were looking for end zone targets. We got him. He hauled in one. He missed the other one. Travis Kelce, just another week, 5 of 8, 100 yards, no touchdown. And he dropped a pass that would have ended up being a touchdown on the right sideline where he was making a catch and spinning. Dropped the ball out of bounds. Would have been a touchdown catch there. 18 points for him. Vance McDonald, this was a swing and a miss. 1 catch on 2 targets, 6 yards. 3,700. Not a lot of the cheap tight ends did a bunch. So you could have still had a very big winning week if you had Vance McDonald coupled with the right wide receivers and you had the running backs that we were targeting. You still would have had enough to have won the majority of your head-to-head games. You're probably not going to win a tournament if you had Vance McDonald as your tight end, but still you could have made the money. George Kittle, doing very well with Beathard at quarterback. 5 catches on 7 targets, 83 yards, no touchdowns, but 13.3 DraftKings points. David Njoku finally busted through with a 6 catch, 11 target, 69-yard performance for 12.9 DraftKings points for only 3.4K. Obviously would have been the superior play to Vance McDonald if you found your way there. Defenses did fine. Titans D had 7 points. Ravens D had 11 points. Panthers D had 12 points. All of them did just fine. So the wide receivers were clearly the problem for me this week. How did I do against the spread? Here were my 5 picks. I got this article up late, so I didn't really have time this week to get the blurbs going because I had stuff to do on Thursday and Friday, and I got locked in. And I was like, oh, man, I usually put this out Thursday night. So I just kind of just slammed it out there with my picks this week. I'll get the blurbs back next week. We went 3-2 against the spread, bringing us to 13-11-1 on the season. These are posted at alzeidenfeld.com. And then getting onto my cash game lineup, here's the 4-man. First week that I finished lower than second. I think everything just got thrown off because last week I was in first place and it screwed everything up. That's at least the story I'm going with. As the week went on, I progressed more towards Kirk Cousins off of Blake Bortles, partly because of the weather. Even though on the Anti-Tinkercast I did say, and 100% true, I did not change my allocations in tournaments to that game based on the rain, based on what I saw before lock time. It didn't look like the rain was going to affect the offenses very much. I still came off of Blake Bortles in cash for whatever reason. Came up to Kirk Cousins, who I knew was going to throw the ball, had over 300 yards, only 1 touchdown. Didn't hurt me. I could have gone up to Stafford, which is what a lot of people did. I did get 3 more points on Cousins over Stafford. Connor, McCaffrey, Melvin Gordon III, as you guys have said. Chat on Twitch, say it with me. Just play the dudes. Just play the right dudes, right? Play the running backs who are going to get you all those touches. So James Conner, I'm trying to get 70 touches out of my 3 running backs. That's my goal every single week. Do I get there every week? No. McCaffrey had 22. James Conner had 25. Melvin Gordon had 23. How do we do? This week, the chat on Twitch was saying, you can't get 70 touches out of running backs. I think you can. You just got to pick the right ones. Play the guys that'll get you 70 total touches at those 3 positions, running back, flex, and you'll give yourself a really good chance of winning. The problem why I didn't win this week was my wide receivers. Marvin Jones Jr., 7.8 points. Doug Baldwin, 1.1 points, even though he played 80% of snaps and the team scored over 30 points. Tywan Taylor, 5 points. Me not switching down to MVS in cash ended up being the thing that really hurt me. I preferred Tywan Taylor. As I said yesterday, I was wrong. Here was my issue in my thinking. And I was zeroed out, so the only thing that I could do was get to the Browns defense and not use one of my Best Buys defense because I had 0 money left, as you can see here on this lineup. Here was my issue. If I came down off of Tywan Taylor and went down to MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, that left me with 700 more. I couldn't figure. I didn't want to get rid of Connor, didn't want to get rid of McCaffrey, didn't want to come off of MG3. Right? I could have gone up from MG3 to Gurley. I thought that was unnecessary. Obviously, Gurley did better. There was no upgrade from Vance McDonald at 3,700. I think that I could have gone up to Graham. I think he was 44 or was he 45? I don't remember if I could have gotten up to him, which would have done better as well. He had like 8 points. What I should have done, theoretically, was come down off of him to MVS and then come up off Kirk Cousins to Aaron Rodgers at 6,300, which would have left me 400 on the table, which I'm totally fine with in cash games. Maybe I upgrade the Browns D to the Ravens D because that was 300 more. That would have cost me 1 point there, but I would have picked up from Kirk Cousins to Aaron Rodgers, I would have picked up 15 points. From Tywan Taylor up to MVS, I would have picked up 14.5 points, which would have been 30 more points, essentially letting me win the 3-man and having me win the vast majority of my head-to-head games. Head-to-heads, I had a losing week this week. I won 41.4% of my head-to-heads. Not good enough. Nowhere near good enough. Had a losing week on DraftKings after 3 straight winning weeks. So we'll try and get back to the grind and get back on the winning train in week 6. So be sure to look out for the first look video this week. Please subscribe to the channel. First look's right here. I'll catch up to you later in the week. We'll have more videos all week. And join us on Twitch if you can. Catch you guys later. Bye.